Richard Connell Jr. He was born on October 17 in 1893. He is best remembered for his short story The Most Dangerous Game, and he is one of the most popular American short story writers of his time. Let's enjoy the story.
The Most Dangerous Game is set on the Cheap Trap Island in the Caribbean early in the 20th century. The action unfolds over the course of 5 days. One evening, two men, Rainsford and Whitney, are conversing on the deck of a yacht as it passes by the Cheap Trap Island. Rainsford and Whitney are on their way to Brazil to hunt jaguars along the Amazon River. Whitney remarks that sailors, even Captain Nielsen, the captain of the ship, have a curious dread about the island. Moreover, Rainsford adds that the island has a bad reputation because there are cannibals. Then, both agree that hunting is the best sport in the world, but it is not the best game for the animal being hunted. Also, Rainsford dismisses Whitney's concerns about the animals, and he is also skeptical of Whitney's belief that the island broadcasts vibration of evil. Then, Whitney goes below decks to sleep, and Rainsford stays up to smoke his pipe, and he hears three gunshots coming from the island, and he climbs onto the railing to get a better look, but unfortunately he loses his balance and he falls overboard. And he yells after the judge, but it sails away. So he swims to the island. As he swims, he hears a high screaming sound of an animal in an extremity of anguish and terror, but he cannot identify the animal because the scream is cut off by the sound of a pistol shot. After a long and exhausting swim, Rainsford reaches the shore and he falls asleep. When he wakes up, it is late afternoon, but Rainsford knows that there must be people and food on the island because of the pistol shots he heard the night before. And Rainsford sets exploring, and he comes upon of some wounded thing by the evidence of a large animal hath thrashed about in the underbrush. Later, night is falling, and Rainsford comes upon a village for there are many lights. And he comes upon a country house, and he knocks on the door, which is opened by an armed man described as a gigantic creature, solid made and black-bearded on the waist. And but Rainsford tells the man that he is Sanger Rainsford of New York City, but the giant man keeps his gun trained on him. Suddenly, a man appears whose name is General Sarov. General Sarov tells his armed servant Ivan to let Rainsford in, and later General Sarov introduces himself and he says that it is an honor to welcome Mr. Sanger Rainsford, the celebrated hunter, to his home. And he also praises Rainsford's accounts of hunting the snow leopards in Tibet.
After that, Rainsford mentions that he and Ivan were both Kazakhs. Then Ivan shows Rainsford a bedroom, so Rainsford is loaned an evening suite. Then Rainsford and General Sarov eat dinner, so admiring one of the mountain heads, Rainsford remarks, "The Cape buffalo is the most dangerous of all big game." Also, he says that he has done a weird thing, and he has invented a new sensation. But he says that instead of explaining what it is. After that, he decides to tell them the story of his life, saying that he was born to the wealthy lander, and he went into the Russian army, being the son of a noble man. After that, he says that his passion was always the hunt. Then he decides to invent a new animal. So the animal that he invented should have courage, cunning, and above all, and also it must be able to reason. So at first, Rainford says that animals cannot reason. After that, General Sarov invites them to go hunting with him. So he gives them 3 hours heads start plus food and a hunted nip. When the 3 hours elapse, he starts threatening them. Then he gives them 3 days. And if they can elude him for 3 days, they win. But if they refuse to play, he threatened to turn over to Ivan, who was once official neuter or a good man. So they all agreed to the hunt rather than face Ivan. Then General Sarov says that he hasn't lost a hunt yet, and he shows Rainford his dogs, a dozen or a huge black shape with glimmering green eyes, and also he tells them that the dogs are let out nightly. Then they prevent no one from entering or leaving the charrow. After that, General Sarov offers Rainford his new collection of heads, but Rainford declines the offer and then goes to bed. So that night, he hears a pistol shot.
The next day at lunchtime, General Safford said, "Tonight we will hang you." When Rainford refuses, General Safford reveals he means to hang Rainford. He said, "If Rainford survives 3 days, I will take him to the mainland and set him free. But if Rainford loses, he will be killed." Rainford is given food and a hanging knife, and after lunch he takes off. Then General Safford follows him for some hours. At first, he tries to put distance between himself and General Safford, but he realizes that General Safford will attract him easily if he flees in a straight line. He starts looping back and forth, leaving a confusing trail. He climbs a tree and stays there and there all night, resting but not sleeping. The next morning, General Safford approaches, armed with a pistol. He looks around, but before he leaves his gaze and sees Rainford up in the tree, he smiles, turns away, and leaves. Rainford realizes that General Safford is playing with him, keeping him away to enjoy the hunt. Rainford leaves the tree, but he finds a large dead tree and a smaller live one, and he goes to work on them. General Safford comes along and triggers the trap Rainford has made. But General Safford leaps away in time and he receives a glancing blow. General Safford calls out his admiration for Rainsford's skills in making a malignant capture. When General Safford leaves, Rainford goes on the run away. Night falls and Rainford finds himself in Dead Swamp. The next morning, Rainford wakes to the sound of General Zaroff. He knew that he will attract him with Ivan and the dogs, so luckily he remembered about a native trial he had learned while he was in Uganda. When the track is spring, it kills Ivan and not General Zaroff. So the dogs start barking and Rainford run away and go into the sea. While General Zaroff sit down to smoke and listening an opera tone. That night, General Zaroff enjoyed an excellent dinner with wine while he was reading a book in his bedroom. When he turned the bedroom lights, he saw Rainford, who has been hiding in the bed curtain. Rainford explained to him that he had swum the house, which was easier than coming through the jungle. General Zaroff congratulated him, saying, "You have won the game."
Now I am going to talk about the characters of the short story. The main character in the short story is Sanger Rainsford. He is the big game hunter who travels the world in search of sport. And other major character in the story is General Zaroff. He is a steady character because he never changes his disgusting, barbaric, and inhuman views of hunting. And he chose true craziness and barbarism by the fact that he hunts people for fun. And we have three minor characters. And the first one is Ivan. Ivan is a tall man with a waist-length black beard, and he is the servant of General Zaroff. And the second minor character is Captain Nielsen. Captain Nielsen is the captain of the ship that Rainsford and Whitney are taking to the Amazon River, and he senses evil emanating from the ship-dropped island. And the last minor character is Whitney. He's a hunter with a philosophical bent, and he reasons that prey animals do not enjoy being hunted.
Now I'm going to talk about the setting, the rising action, and the climax of the story. So, the setting of the story. It takes place in the early 1920s in a small island somewhere in the Caribbean Sea. The rising action. It happens when General Zaroff begins hunting with Rainford. So Rainford is in conflict with nature because he's trying to survive. And the climax. It happens when Rainford is being chased by General Zaroff and his hounds. Now I'm going to talk about the setting, the rising action, and the climax of the story. So, the setting of the story. It takes place in the early 1920s in a small island somewhere in the Caribbean Sea. The rising action. It happens when General Zaroff begins hunting with Rainford. So Rainford is in conflict with nature because he's trying to survive. And the climax. It happens when Rainford is being chased by General Zaroff and his hounds. Now I'm going to talk about the setting, the rising action, and the climax of the story. So, the setting of the story. It takes place in the early 1920s in a small island somewhere in the Caribbean Sea. The rising action. It happens when General Sarov begins hunting with Rainford. So Rainford is in conflict with nature because he's trying to survive. And the climax. It happens when Rainford is being chased by General Sarov and his hounds.
Finally, we have the moral of this short story, and it's based on the difference between hanging, murder, and self-defense. In regards to the way humans justify the act of killing, also there is a quote that said, "The world is made of two classes, the hunters and the hunted. Luckily, you are the hunter." Thank you for watching our video.